Shut up and sit down.
Hello, what's up, guys? Welcome to the My Alpha Life podcast. I'm your host, John Champ George. My co-host, Dennis Gunnar Metzler. How you doing, my friend?
I'd say I'm great, but I've had better days.
Let's talk about it. What's the problem, bub?
Oh, I don't know. A couple of monkeys in a room sitting here trying to work out some technical difficulties for an hour and 15 minutes, but hey, we're up and running.
You know, technology is a blessing and a curse. Trying to figure shit out that should be very simple, but then it's not simple. It's infuriating.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I don't want to tell the listeners what the problem was.
Yeah, mind your business. How about that?
Yeah, the power switch was turned on. It was a little more complex than that, but not much.
Yeah. It's on the official position. What's the problem? No, that means off, fuckface. That was not our problem, guys. It was a different stupid issue. So this episode, guys, we got some Q&A. So through the different, sources, TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, all the different things. A lot of you guys are on there and talking with us and leaving comments and sending messages and DMs and emails and all the things. So that's awesome. Keep them coming. And we thought we'd take a minute and do a little bit of a Q&A for you guys, answer some of the questions that have come in. There are a lot, so we just grabbed a handful, or I grabbed a handful. Gunnar actually hasn't seen these questions, so there's nothing too crazy. There are some that are wild, dude, like some risque questions.
You could throw those in at the end and let people
we'll do a separate maybe we'll do a live. Leave it in the comments you want us to do a live on YouTube, TikTok, or whatever, and we can do a live and answer some questions.
Little My Alpha Life After Dark kind of.
Yeah, little My Alpha Life True Confessions. All right, let's see here. Let me get into it. All right, first question, pretty simple. How long have you been a bounty hunter, sir?
Yeah, different for both of us, obviously. I've been doing about 2.5, almost 3 years now. Mm-hmm. And you've been in over 10?
Yeah, I'm probably at like the 11, maybe 12-year mark now. So, yeah, pretty straightforward.
Pretty simple question. Yeah.
Before that, that's just bounty hunter. Of course, he's retired law enforcement. So as far as hunting down bad guys and putting them in jail, it's been a long time.
It's been since 2004. So
yeah. What is your EDC? I like this question. I nerd out on these questions.
Oh, what's yours? You got a little gun.
Yeah, I run the Springfield Armory Hellcat. I love that gun. It's nice and compact, but you can run 13 rounds in that guy. And I used to run a Glock 19. Glock 19, you're running 15 rounds, and but it's substantially bigger and prints much worse and that kind of thing. For me, on my frame, my body, the way I carry appendix, for those of you that care. It has to do with EDC. So I used to run at 4 o'clock. I don't do that anymore. I run appendix. And I've got a custom holster made by a guy locally, actually. It's just an individual that does it. So I don't have a shout out for a company, unfortunately, but he makes really good holsters, great retention, full Kydex. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, mine is a Glock 27. It's a 40 caliber. What I carry when I'm working is a Glock 17, 9mm. So people wonder why there's a difference in caliber there. Why don't I just carry a Glock 26? It's because when I was on duty as a cop, I was working in my duty weapon was a Glock 22. So I just had the Glock 27 so I can interchange mags and, go back and forth if I needed to. And I just never got rid of that gun. When I retired, though, I started having a problem. Well, when I retired, I bought myself a Ruger SR 1911, which obviously completely different weapon, completely different platform, single
Sure.
action versus double action, much bigger, different caliber rounds, only 9 rounds in that gun. So I actually carried that as an EDC for a while, which was, people were like, wow, you're doing that concealed? And
Yeah, it's a cinder block in your pants.
yeah, but it's so much smoother than the Glock. I mean,
Sure.
everything's smoother than a Glock, right?
Sure.
But I would carry that small in the back, and nobody ever knew I was carrying.
Yeah.
After a couple of months, you could tell because the seam in the middle of my pants started getting worn out from the muzzle of the gun, just
Yeah.
rubbing constantly, and I'd have a hole in my pants. But so I've been running the Glock 27 for decades now, and yeah, it's a good gun. I mean, it's the only issue I have is just that it's a 40 caliber ammunition, not 9mm, matching
Right.
my duty weapon. So
Yeah, and to that point, I used to actually run the 26, which is the 9mm version of that. And for that very reason, like I mean, you have kind of a specific reason why you ran that, but universally, since I got out of the military, I just ran 9mm because it's a NATO round and easy to find and plentiful and all those things. So all of my pistols are all 9mm. Not that I haven't like owned others and whatever, but like as far as guns that I'm going to carry and whatever. So my duty weapon at the time was a Glock 17, which is 9mm, but full size. Glock 19 is what I was carrying for concealed carry for a while. I went actually up from the 26 to the 19 just because I wanted more rounds. And the 26, as you know, like we have bigger hands, and you know it feels a little, I don't know, small but
Yes, it
chunky
is.
at the same time. Yeah, can't quite get quite as good a purchase and less rounds. So I went up to the 19, and now I found that happy medium in the Hellcat. Like I really love that weapon system, and you can get it, you know, with a red dot or milled for a red dot, whatever kind of red dot you want. And I'm a big fan of red dots on pistols, but with that, actually that sight system on the Hellcat, I like it just the way that it is. It's really fast sight acquisition, and just feels really good in the hand. It's really fun to shoot. So that's what I'm running now. So
yeah, and the biggest thing is like, yeah, try out all these guns. You know, if you're thinking about buying something, you want an EDC, you know, see if you can go to a range, and a lot of ranges will let you use some of their guns and test them out because a lot of them, some of them out here actually have stores, gun shops attached to them. So they'll let you go and try their guns out. I think one of them out here in Raleigh does that. And, you know, just whatever you choose, make sure you're comfortable with it, make sure you're proficient with it, make sure you train all the time with it, especially if you're going to be carrying concealed. Practice your draw. Try, you know, with probably if you're a novice at this, make sure you have, you know, a range master there or somebody who's
Right.
really well versed in guns. Because I've seen plenty of people shoot themselves on accident as they're trying to reholster. I've been on calls like that. I've been on ranges where that happens. So, you know, just make sure you're super comfortable with whatever you're shooting, and you know, don't let our opinions sway you one way or the other. It's got to be a personal choice.
or anybody's. I mean, so many people, like there's so many Glock fanboys out there, and I love a Glock too, right? Like I love the Glock operating system though. Like now I run Shadow Systems for my duty weapon, which is a better Glock, right? You know, it's just a better Glock. It's a better made Glock. So we can delve into that some other time if you guys don't know what Shadow Systems is. But they're an American made company. They're out of Texas, and the Glock operating system kind of ran up the trademark or whatever for Glock, and it was up for grabs, kind of. Shadow Systems grabbed a hold, and now they're making them, and it's wonderful. That being said, I can interchange magazines and all that stuff,
Right.
you know, and all those things. So anyway, I digress. What was that? What's your EDC? What's your kit setup? Okay, so that's a kind of a great segue into the next question, your kit setup. We'll try to keep this like as brief as possible because there's a lot
Yeah.
involved in our kit. But and if you guys want, leave it in the comments. Like if you want direct videos and conversations, like really breaking down the intricacies and details of what everything that we have and why we pick those things and all that, we can get very, very detailed. And we both are kind of nerds like that when it comes to gear and whatever, because we do it, because we actually do it every day, and what you run matters. It doesn't just, sit in the closet and we brag to our poker buddies about it. We actually use it every single day. So, but anyway, your kit setup.
Yeah, again, this is, it's so personal, right? It's got to be something that you're comfortable with. You've got to have reliable body armor, number one. Make sure you carry, if you don't have like a flexible rifle armor system, there's some that are out there right now. What is it? I don't know what the name of the company is, but they have a flexible rifle armor, and it's like covers your whole body, your torso, your sides, your flanks, and everything. Yeah. And it'd take 7.62, no problem. I've seen tests where they shoot it multiple times and it's not being penetrated, so it's really flexible. I used to run, when I was on duty, just the standard 3A armor, soft armor with a hard trauma plate in the center. And that's just because that's what I was doing when I was on duty. That's what the department paid for. Now that I'm out and we're doing this, it's steel plates with the build-up coating. For those of you who don't know, build-up coating over the steel plates is to absorb a lot of the fragmentation. If you get hit with a round, on steel, you're going to get metal fragments.
It'll come up and hit you in the bottom of the chin. Yeah.
So you get that build-up coating, and it'll absorb a lot of those fragmentation from the rounds.
Yeah.
But beyond that, having a good carrier, a good plate system, front and rear plates. I don't know why some people only run front plates, because there's plenty of people that get ambushed doing this job and doing other jobs.
Yeah, the people. I actually watched a video one time of a guy like, I only run front plates because I'm never going to run away from the fight, which is such a stupid fucking thing to say. I've been shot at from behind a number of times.
A lot of times.
So like the fight's not always going to be directly in front of you, and an example of us, like we go in, we're clearing a house, somebody could come out of a room, on one side versus another, or what, like, who knows?
Yeah, you can't cover every angle. And besides the fact, a lot of the places that we work, we go out into the woods, and these are trailers, single wides, double wides, that are surrounded by 10 acres.
Yeah.
And you could be walking up to somebody's front door and they're out in the woods hunting or something, and they see you. Yeah, cover your ass, cover your six. But beyond the plates that you're wearing, got a two extra mags on my belt, my duty weapon, and those are all on my primary side. And that's just the way I've always trained. Some people go offside with their magazines and they feel like it's quicker for them, whatever. Some people have a horizontal carry versus a vertical carry for their extra magazines. Again, whatever it is, just train with it, be proficient with it, and make sure that you're quick with it. So I also carry a taser on my support side on my belt. And then on my actual carrier, my plate carrier, I've got a flashlight, and make sure you at least have 2 flashlights with you. My duty gun has a light on it. I got the TLR 7A, along with the Holosun 507C optic on there. What else am I missing? Everybody carries trauma kits, or you should be carrying a trauma kit with you on.
Yeah, I was going to say, not everybody carries trauma kits.
You should at bare minimum a tourniquet. That's bare minimum.
Yeah, guys, we've put holes in people and then had to immediately try to fill those holes, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not always like just shoot the guy and whatever. Like,
yeah, you got to cover your ass. You shoot somebody and you just let them bleed out there. Maybe you'll be okay criminally, but civilly you're going to get fucked. You have to provide aid. You have to address, as long as the threat areas are cleared, you have to take care of the person that's bleeding out in front of you. So, I mean, we carry blood clotting agent. I have powder, and I also have blood gauze with blood clotting agent in it. I've got a tourniquet, compression bandage, chest seals. What else do I carry? Obviously, bandage scissors to cut people's clothes off and be able to identify trauma areas.
Gloves.
Gloves, yeah, gloves are
Super
important.
Yesterday, we arrested a guy yesterday, and like neither of us wanted to touch him with bare hands. He was disgusting. So
Yeah.
and he wasn't bleeding. So,
No, he was scratching a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just stood there for a second and made sure he kept his hands up while you put on gloves.
Mm-hmm.
I gave you gloves. You put gloves on, handcuffed him. And it was like, great. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't run. I'm glad he didn't fight because I wasn't tackling him. I was just,
Yeah. He's.
sores.
I was just gonna tase him and let him fall.
Yeah. But there's about kit still. I mean, anything else that you could think of? I got an extra rifle mag on my kit.
Yeah.
A lot of guys carry 3 up front, or they carry 6 rifle mags. I mean,
Again, what's your job, right?
Yeah.
Our job. There are definitely times like we've gone into some sketchy areas where we're both gonna run a 5.56 and we're both gonna run extra magazines because the terrain, the scenario, the individual we're hunting, all of that combined kind of says like, okay, we went into one thing, this was what, a year and a half, 2 years ago or something. One area that, I mean, it looked like a junkyard. It basically was a junkyard, but this guy lived in the junkyard.
yeah.
And his trailer was in the junkyard, but there were multiple campers, multiple structures that were livable. And understand, a lot of people that we go and hunt, a couple days ago, we were interviewing somebody about somebody else, asking questions, and these people lived in a shed in the backyard. And I know I've arrested many, many people in this job where they turn sheds into a shitty little home.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about like the tiny home movement where they're nice and luxurious. Like these are just,
It's a shed.
it's a shed and it's a piece of shit. And
It has like an extension cord running in the shed that has
Yeah.
like a 12-watt light bulb in there.
Right.
That's it.
yeah, and maybe a space heater. And but yeah, like we, that one scenario, we went into a junkyard, and I mean, we're surrounded 360 degrees by, I mean, that's it looked like a post-apocalyptic war zone.
Yeah, you got front loaders and construction
Mm-hmm.
equipment, plenty of stuff that people can hide behind that a 5.56 isn't going to get through. So
Yeah.
I mean, you at least need to carry that. If they
Yeah.
pop out and you need to be able to take a position where you can take a long-range shot as opposed to just going into a trailer,
Yeah.
a single wide where 9mm will do just fine. It'll cut through the whole trailer.
Yeah.
So-
And again, back to my point, like what's your job? Like in that case, it dictated that's what we needed to run. But on a daily basis, we're not running a full like war kit, battle kit of, 3 to 6 rifle mags up front, where we need to quickly access them because we're putting so many rounds down range. At one point in life, sure, but not right now. It's a different game. So yeah, for me, I've got my plate carrier. I got my plate carrier off of the Warrior Poet Society website. If you guys are not following John Lovell and Warrior Poet Society, get on there and do it. That whole movement is awesome. He's a Christian, very strong faith. He's also a former Ranger, and he's a full-time firearms instructor. But now, like, his channel has grown on YouTube and stuff, and they've got a podcast, and he's just doing great things for the Second Amendment movement, for Christianity, for men. Like, it's just a great community. So shout out John Lovell. I met him in Vegas. He's a super nice guy. I want to go out there. He lives in Atlanta, just outside of Atlanta.
And that's where you got your plate carrier from?
From his website.
Okay.
From his website, yeah. But yeah, I got excited about John Lovell. I want to go out there and train with him. But anyway, all my kit's hanging behind me. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera.
Probably not.
But anyway, yeah, it's a great system. Again, if you guys want to know, like, we'll break it all down and like show you everything we've got. But so I got my plate carrier. I'm running plates in front and back. 3A, level 3A plates. And then I've got obviously my trauma kit, same stuff you listed. I've got in mine. And then my duty belt. I've got 2 magazines on my support side. I run my taser on kind of the front off side, kind of 11 o'clock of my duty belts, and it's a cross draw, so I can quickly access that. My cuffs are right next to that, again in the front, so that I can quickly access those. And then I've got my duty weapon is at 3 o'clock, and again, that's Shadow Systems. I run a TLR 1 on that, and then
bigger.
Yeah, it's a little bigger. And I've got my holster is a Safariland. I really like that. I really like that holster. It's what I'm familiar with.
Same,
in,
yeah.
Military and all that. Then I've also got the Hollow Sun
507.
507. Yeah, same red dot you've got. So
Yeah, and just remember, whenever you're doing stuff, whenever you're trying to set your kit up or whatever, the old adage that 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And for those of you that don't know, basically, if you have 1 flashlight, count yourself as having 0, because that thing's going to fail you. If you carry in
mine
1,
just did.
yeah.
Just the other day, mine did. We were searching a house, and my flash. I keep a flash. So on my plate carrier, I keep a flashlight as well. Like he's saying, went to go. It worked every day. It's charged. I don't know why, but it's it's a piece of equipment.
Technology.
Went to
fails.
use it and it didn't work. Like, oh shit!
You got another one.
But I've got another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, not only the 2 is 1, 1 is none, but make sure that you're actually training with your kit, guys. Even in all the years that between military experience, between law enforcement, between hunting bad guys, all the things that we've done and all the training that we do and have done, man, I've changed my kit and changed my duty belt and changed my stuff and like just changed positions of things, or I'll think of something. I'm like, oh man, I want to add this. All right, cool. And then you'd be surprised how that throws everything off. So, just the positions of things. And you can always tell when we go to like to training events, where we're going to run guns and stuff. You can always tell the people that have their shit together and that train with their stuff and the people that don't, because it looks like a fucking yard sale out there with all their shit flying around.
And one other point to this, and then we'll move on to the next question, is like when you get your stuff set up and when you're training with it, like the first thing that you should probably do with it is take a 50-yard sprint with it and see what flies off your kit.
Yeah.
See what ends up in the dirt. See what ends up off of you, because it's all well and good to stand on a static range and fire some rounds down range and do a tactical magazine reload and do an empty gun reload. But the minute you hit the dirt or you start crawling or you sprint, you're going to lose shit. So the best way to do that is in training. Figure out what's going to go flying and figure out how to secure that shit, because you go for a sprint and then all of a sudden you're in a gunfight and you have no extra mags. Well, where do they go? That's an issue.
Yep. For sure. And sometimes even when you have your shit together and you do that, you still lose stuff. I've been in fights in this job and or chasing somebody down, lost a radio in the woods, lost my fucking camera, whatever.
No, I'm still out $200 from that radio.
Yeah.
But I've lost magazines and foot chases and shit like
For
that.
sure.
I mean,
Oh man, that one, even, you remember we were, when I had to low crawl across that field?
that's specifically what I'm talking about here.
Oh, really? Yeah. I was low crawling, guys. This was not like high speed anything. This was like, picture like a lion, like
Going through the
Sahara, like trying to stay low as they could. That's exactly what I was doing, because this guy was sitting on the front porch and I was just trying to get as close as I could. And Gunner and another guy were kind of sitting in the back, kind of watching my back and watching the surroundings and stuff until I gave them the word to come up. And in that, I then had to hop up and take off, and went back and looked, and but by the time it came time to take a look at things, I had lost 2 magazines. Yeah.
I found one of them. The other one was gone.
Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next question. Let's see here. What is your EDC? What is your kit set up? What's your most memorable arrest? Let's see. Man, that's tough. There's a lot. Most memorable arrest. Man, there are a lot, guys. I have some that stand out to me because they were significant arrests in that, like, it was a really bad human.
Yeah.
Those I enjoy a lot. There's some that are just kind of like there's a funny story attached to it, like the way we caught the person, or like maybe they fought or something. One of my most memorable. This one's kind of a funny one. Well, we won't talk about really terrible people. That's a downer. But well, I'll give you two. There's one guy that was on the run from New York, and he ran down to Raleigh. This is when I was doing this job by myself, long before I had started working with you. And I've actually referenced this case. I sat in my truck for 15 hours, pissing in a bottle. Like, I could not move. I parked in a spot, so I thought that he was in this hotel. I had put a tracker on his girl's car. I knew where his girl worked. She was a waitress at a restaurant. So I put a tracker on her car and just kind of watched it. And then I saw that she stopped for a very short period of time at a motel and then moved on and kept doing her thing. I was like, okay, that's where I'm going to focus. And it was a little confusing because she was jumping around from like house to house to house to house. So it could have been like, he could have been in any of these places, right? But I focused on the motel. And it was a 2-story deal. Cheap motel, like a red roof or something like that. So, and it had a second story. So I was parked in a position where, and all my windows are blacked out, guys. Like, you can't see inside my truck at all if you're standing right next to it looking in. So I park and I'm watching, but I was in a position where if I got out of my truck, everybody would know that I was there, obviously. So I was just hunkered in. I couldn't get out of my truck. So I'm pissing in bottles and I got snacks and whatever. But 15 hours I sat in that fucking truck. And I stared and I watched and I watched and I watched. And I just stared at the window. And at one point, I saw the curtain move just enough. And I was like, so now there's a human, right? And then sure as shit, I watch her. She pulls in, walks up the stairs. Boom. That's exactly the room she goes to. Goes inside. Very short period of time, but she goes inside. But she didn't have a key. She knocked. Somebody opened it. I was like, got it. Okay. Now I know definitely I'm in the right spot, right? Again, I don't know. I haven't seen the guy yet, whatever. And then I set a trap. I'm not going to tell you guys right now what the trap was. Leave it in the comments if you want to know. But I set a trap where he'd have to poke his head outside. He'd either come outside and look or he'd poke his head out, something. I set that up, poked his head out. I was just sitting there in the same spot with my binos waiting. And sure shit, he poked his head out. I was like, okay, positive ID. That's him. And then I could move in from there. That guy I liked because he was on the run from New York for murder. He had, and for a list of people, but there was like a girl and her daughter were on that list. So this is just like a bad dude. So that one was really memorable. And then I think it was our very first arrest together, or is one of the very first. But the dude from Mars.
Oh, yeah. Down in South Carolina.
Yeah, that I tased like 7 times.
Yeah. As I was yelling at you, hit him again.
That one is hilarious. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, go on the TikTok, My Alpha Life on TikTok, and you'll have to go back some videos.
Yeah, this was years ago.
Yeah, but there's like, I think, a 6 or 7 part video series I put up on TikTok, and you guys can watch that through body cam footage of that experience. That one was fun. He swore he thought he was from Mars. We had no jurisdiction over him, whatever. It was wild. And then he wanted to fight. So
yeah. That was good body cam footage though. I mean, it was like, I remember at one point he was he was trying to tell his name is not my name is, and then
Yeah.
then as soon he was trying to get out his fake name, whatever he was saying.
Right.
And at the moment where he's about to say his name, he got zapped with the taser. So it was, my name is,
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing, guys, so you understand, this is not a mentally ill person. This is a criminal who was trying to play mentally ill. That was his game, was if we think he's crazy, then maybe we won't take him to jail, whatever. But he slipped up a handful of times. Go back and watch the video. You'll see it.
Yeah.
What about you?
There's none that I could, like,
It's hard, right? Yeah.
because there's so many that have different aspects to it and different, different levels of excitement and different outcomes. I mean, there was one where you and that other guy were working. I had seen the guy the day before on a motorcycle go zipping by me, and I forgot which town it was in, but you ended up getting into like a 200-yard foot chase with this dude.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm flying down the road because he had, the way it was set up is you were watching the house with the other guy, and I was down the road because a vehicle had left the house, and he was putting eyes on everybody around. So I decided to follow him, see if that was our guy.
Right.
And he just turned out to be another tweaker that was living with this guy.
Yeah, this is a trap house that,
Yeah.
so.
But I mean, that one I really wasn't even involved in, but I just remember being on the radio to you and the other guy and, hey, where are you guys? Like, I was flying down to the house because I heard you got into a foot chase. Our radios weren't working, so we were communicating over the phone. I mean,
yeah, and that one was crazy because my position was, I was genuinely like 200 yards away from where he came out of the house because I was out on foot and trying to. Oh no, I wasn't on foot at that time. I was like 200 yards away, but I was in the truck, and he came out. He's like 200 yards away or whatever, but I had to try to drive through the field, and there was a giant ditch, giant culvert. So I bailed out of the truck and then was in a foot chase, but he had easily like a 200-yard head start.
yeah. And the reason these ones stick out for me is because I'm not there and it pisses me off.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to get there. I was dealing with some other bullshit, trying to figure out if this guy was going to rat, if he was going to like squeal to this guy and tell him to hide in the house. And by the time I had disconnected with this other guy, like I'm hauling ass trying to get to you. And I've just been in situations before where my partner is in trouble and can't handle themselves. Obviously you can handle yourself, but those memories start playing back in my head. And
of course.
like, fuck, I got to get there. I got to
And even when they can handle themselves, you never know what's going to happen. You just want to be there.
Yeah.
Like, it's your job to be part of the fight. Yeah.
Yeah, so those things kind of like play in my head, like, damn it, like that's why stuff like that sticks out to me. Like, I need to be there. I got to get there. I got to get there safely, but I got to get there. And it's frustrating when I'm not.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Ending to that story was I caught him. And, Gunner, again, he's way up the road in his vehicle, but he heard, okay, we got our guy, but he's in a foot chase, whatever. So he's fucking hauling ass. And but we're communicating where it is and what's happening. So basically, I tackle the dude. Like, I closed the distance on him. We're out in it was like a bean field or something. I remember because the soil was really soft. And so I'm hauling ass through. I make up the distance, tackle him. And I mean, I didn't even have cuffs on him yet, and you were there. So you weren't far behind. But you were fucking hauling ass to get there is what I mean.
Was there.
And but yeah, I like tackled him, and I remember I looked up and I saw your car pulling in, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't hear the tires screeching as I was taking that corner, because I went back and there was a nice skid mark, nice yaw mark for where I made that turn. I was like, yeah.
Nice.
I was doing the speed limit.
Yeah, totally. All right, what do we got here? Oh, what was it like to ride a bull for the first time?
Annoying?
Explain.
Annoying? I mean, you had a good time.
Yeah, I had a great time.
You broke your tailbone.
I sure did.
Yeah.
And it still was awesome.
I broke my face. The bull broke my face.
Tell him the story.
Yeah, I mean, we went out there. We had our sons with us, and they both rode bulls. My boy got flipped like a
Catapulted.
helicopter.
Yeah.
He helicoptered through the air. And I really wasn't worried. Like, so I went first. I went before him. I think you went first. I went second. I think my boy or
Jace went last.
he
my
went
son
last.
went last.
Gabe went third. I don't know. It wasn't. I wish it was more.
Yeah.
I wish it was more.
So explain. I know what
So,
you mean by that.
I
but
know, and I want to try. I'm trying to word it correctly without sounding, arrogant.
Yeah.
Because that's not what it is. It's just that when you do certain things for a long time in life that are really exciting, those exciting things get boring and they get mundane and routine. And it's like a drug. I mean, adrenaline is a drug. And when you experience it continually, it wears off and you build up an immunity to it.
You're kind of numb. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was hoping that this was going to be the kick in the ass that I needed because I just haven't had that feeling in a long time.
Right.
So, you went and, did your little Prince Charming thing.
I rode the bull for 8 seconds. Is what he means.
Yeah. And then the bull stopped.
Yeah. I had to fucking kick him to keep going.
You had to kick him and then you fell off.
And then he ran into the gate.
Broke your ass. So then I went next and, I slid in on top of the bull and got all ready. And it was just locked in, gave the nod, the gate opened, and I didn't feel anything. And that's why I was angry. And maybe that's why I was in my own head, because as soon as the gate opened, the bull bucked, turned left, and I went right off the right side of him. As I went off the right side, I hit the ground, and his hind legs came down across my face. 'Cause I had a helmet on. Mm-hmm. It came across my face, and then down onto my chest, and then landed on my arm. And I got up, and
Well, hold on. You're bypassing one of the best parts. On the way back up, so his hind legs came down, stomped on you.
Yeah.
And then on the way back up, he got you again, kicked you in the face, flipped the helmet off.
Yeah, that's why I had a bloody face.
Right.
And I went back and I watched the video in slow motion, and I think I showed you the video.
Yeah.
And as the bull came down, he hit me, and I watched my arm go up and try to grab his leg like I was going to attack
Come
him.
here, motherfucker.
You're not getting away that easy.
Yeah.
But I got up and I'm bleeding, and my arm is all fucked up, and that wasn't the issue. Like, I didn't care about that. I was just more pissed that it wasn't as exciting as I expected it to be.
Yeah.
It was. I hate to say that it was a letdown.
Sure.
Because, and that's not the term I want to say. It was just not. And the problem isn't the bull ride, and the problem's with me. Obviously, I mean, that anybody does it, like, holy shit, that's exciting, and like we saw that look on how many people's faces out there going out there for the first time.
It's the biggest, most scary thing that they've ever done in their life.
Yeah.
And for you and I, it's not. We went out there literally just to like have fun. Like, it's kind of a bucket list thing,
Yeah.
Even now for me, like going on, and like I've ridden many bulls now. Like, that was my first with you, which was awesome, and I enjoyed it, so I've continued doing it. But it's not, when I go out, it's not like, oh, like this is going to be such a great adrenaline rush. I actually just want to be good at it, so I'm doing it. But it's not. Yeah, I'm with you. It did not feel the way I thought it was going to feel.
Yeah, I mean, you sit on top of this bull, and it's massive. 12 to 1,500 pounds, sometimes bigger.
Yeah.
And you feel all the muscle in the back of this bull, and you feel his shoulders, and you feel it as he bucks. And I mean, there's so much power there, and that's it's an experience. That is an experience. It's something that a lot of people don't ever get to experience. So that was really cool, and you really got to have respect for those animals, because those things are athletes. They're the athletes of the animal kingdom, and they want to kill you. They, if you're on the ground and they spot you when you fall off, they're going to come after you with their horns in their head and their hooves, and they're going to try and do everything they can to maul you. And it doesn't look fun when people get mauled. I think the next thing, like we were talking about, was getting in there and doing the It's not
Bullfighting.
Yeah, the bullfighting, not the rodeo.
Like cowboy protection. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably try that next time you go, just to like, maybe get head on with the thing.
Sure.
And I'm sure that'll get the blood racing for a few seconds.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
I'm sure. It's interesting that you say that, because I've had conversations with a lot of those guys out there now. And I've heard from the cowboys that ride, like the bull riders, I've heard them say, I'll get on the back of that thing, but I'm not going to fight one. So you guys understand, when we say bullfighter, we're not talking about like in Spain, like the matador. That's not what we're talking about. That is a bullfighter, but that's not what we're talking about in like American, like Western cowboy culture. What a bullfighter is, the cowboy protection. So you see like the three guys, when the bull rider gets bucked off or comes off voluntarily, there are three guys out there that are getting the bull's attention and redirecting it and stuff like that, so that the cowboy that rode the bull can get the fuck out of Dodge. That's what we're talking about. And I've heard the same from both. I've heard bull riders say, I'm not fucking doing that. And I've heard bull fighters say, I'm not getting on the back of that fucking thing, but I'll protect the cowboy that gets on. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. They're
And that's-
both very dangerous.
Yeah. Because if the cowboy gets thrown off and knocked out, like, somebody better be covering him or be trying to drag him out of there, because that bull turns and spots him. He's going to go after him.
He's fucked, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's also like the kind of like the self-sacrifice thing. Like, you throw yourself on top, you cover his head, and you protect him if he's unconscious. So, I mean, I'm good with that. That sounds, that sounds fun.
Well, you're a protector by nature. We both are. So it's, I think you'd be very good at it, because your instincts would kick in and what to do. I mean, there are definitely like techniques to what you need to do and where you need to be and work as a team and all that. But you learn those steps, you'd be great at it.
Yeah. And you've done it, what, 4 times now? 5 times?
No, more than that.
6 times?
I've got a list on my phone of the bulls that I've ridden and the bulls that I've covered. So bulls that you've covered, the difference in riding and covering. Riding is like get on it, and maybe you make the 8 seconds, maybe you don't. If you cover a bull, that terminology means you rode it for 8 seconds. Mm-hmm. So, but at this point, I'm probably like, because I got to where I was doing 2 bulls a night too.
Okay.
So I'm over 10 bulls now for sure.
Huh?
Yeah.
You only broke 1 bone?
Only broke 1 bone. knock on wood. And it was the first time, guys. It was fucking bullshit.
And it was a stupid way to break.
I got
Not your fault.
Yeah, like I got on it, I rode it, it stopped, which the guy told us ahead of time, like, hey, sometimes these bulls will stop bucking. If they do not get off. Kick it and make it buck again. Get off of a moving bull. Don't get off of a stagnant, standing still bull. So I kicked it.
But what's the reason for that?
Because when you get off of a static bull, like it's just standing still, if you go to get off of it, now you're just a target and he knows right where you're at.
Yeah.
Versus if he's in the middle of bucking and he's thinking about that and you get off, like by the time you hit the ground, he's likely over here. At least there's a little bit of distance between
I thought it
was
also, did I hear incorrectly or maybe I didn't hear that? I thought as you're getting off, it may cause him to buck again and
definitely.
catch you.
Well, but also he knows where you're at. So he's either going to bring his head around and you're standing right in the path, or he's going to bring his hooves around, his rear legs, and he's going to fucking kick you in the melon.
Yeah.
So get off of a moving bull.
And you did.
Yeah, so I kicked him to get him going again. Then he went straight to the gate. So, and I'm right-handed. So if you're right-handed, you want to get off to the right side. Well, the gate was on my right side. So I was like, well, fuck, I got to ride this bull until he gets away from the gate. So I actually stayed on. I think we watched the video, it was like 14 seconds or something like that. So he comes around again when he comes off the gate. And I'm like, okay, now I can get off. I throw my leg over to get off, and it was like mid-jump. It was weird. And when I came off, I just landed super
Your foot
strange.
caught the bull rope.
Yeah, my left foot, as it came over, caught the rope, which changed the trajectory of my body, obviously. So when I hit the ground, I landed in a way where like my left leg was being pulled while my tailbone was hitting the ground. And it just like pulled and tweaked and broke my shit.
Literally.
Yeah, and it hurt. Like, it didn't hurt then. I was fine then, but it was later on that night. I was like, man, something feels weird. And then in training and stuff, dude, that one took a long time to heal.
Well, you were complaining about like your legs hurting, like your inner
Yeah.
inner legs,
My inner
not,
thighs, yeah.
not necessarily your ass bone.
I thought that it was like my squeezing muscles.
Right.
Like that I just squeezed so hard that I tore something or whatever. No. It was, my fucking ass was broken. But yeah, I learned, that's the only time I've been injured, thank God. I'm sure it's coming, but
Yep.
it's definitely a dangerous thing, but at least it helps you know you're alive. All right, let's see here. Real quick, you remember the name of the bull you rode the first time?
Yeah. Twinkle toes.
Twinkle Toes, which sounds real soft, but they call him TNT
Yeah.
for short, which is way more accurate.
And yeah, a little more imposing.
Yeah, that bull is,
Tried to explode my face.
yeah, the bull's pretty explosive, man. He's a fun
Yeah.
bull. And Southside was the first bull I rode. Yeah. Okay, let's see.
Real quick, did you get on TNT?
Yeah, I rode TNT.
Did you?
Yeah, I covered him.
Okay.
Just because I knew
Okay.
I saw
You had to.
I saw what happened.
Redemption.
So I had to, I rode I also rode oh man. It starts with a T as well. Hold on, I got it in my notes right here. Hold on a second, guys. You're gonna watch this live. The one that Jace rode. Tic Tac.
Yeah.
Tic Tac. And so I got Southside, Texas Pete. I rode him twice. Two Face, Tic Tac, Freckles, Cadillac, TNT, and 777. They also call him Steady Mobbin.
Okay.
Those are all the bulls that I've ridden. All right, let me get back to my notes.
Questions.
Yeah. Okay, where are we at here?
Most memorable arrest?
Who's the worst criminal you've ever arrested? And I guess for you, this would go into law enforcement as well.
Yeah, I mean, we arrested, had a guy on a murder charge. I mean, murder is probably the most serious thing that you can arrest people for. He had actually committed a murder on the Indian reservation. And Indian reservation, you got to understand, charges are different than they are in the rest of the United States. Like everything technically was a misdemeanor out there, so even murder was considered a misdemeanor. And he had only done like 7 years on a murder charge out there, and then he'd come over to our city and he committed a murder, and we had arrested him there. Probably one of the most serious cases, though, that I had when I was out there was a guy named JT Reddy, and he was just an absolute fucking monster. We didn't get to arrest him because he killed himself, but prior to killing himself, to go back, he was like part of this Arizona-made militia. I think they called themselves the Minutemen, and they would go down to the border and they would protect the border. Now there's speculation that he'd gone out there and killed a bunch of illegal immigrants that were crossing the border. I don't think any of that was ever proved, but he was living in our city at the end of his life, and he was living with his girlfriend. So this guy was kind of weird because he was a racist, but he was dating a half Mexican, half white girl.
Okay.
And she had 2 daughters. One of those daughters had a 15-month-old baby, and the other daughter, she actually had her boyfriend there with her, and the other daughter was just at the house by herself. Well, I'd been out to that house and been to calls all the time about domestic violence situations, and by the time we get there, everything's kind of covered up and the stories are all matching, and it looks like something had happened, but there wasn't anything provable and nobody had ever gone to jail. But the last time we had gone out there was as I was coming on shift. We got a call for a shooting, and it was at his address. And I was on SWAT at the time. Unfortunately, I was working down at the South substation. This had happened up in a central district, and I jumped in my car. I mean, literally as I was coming on shift, the hot tones kicked out, jumped in my car, flew up there. By the time I got up there, the fire department was just pulling bodies out of the house. He had went on a rampage. He had gotten into an argument with his girlfriend. He had shot her in the head, killed her. He'd moved on to the daughter, who was early 20s, shot her, killed her. The boyfriend was outside on the front porch, and it looked like he was trying to get away. And from inside the house, he had shot him because rounds had come out of the house and hit vehicles across the street. And then he had shot the 15-month-old girl in the head, killed her. The only one who survived that was one of the daughters. She had hid in the back closet and was like cowering, and she was an absolute wreck.
I'm sure.
He had gone and turned the gun on himself on the front porch or by the front door. I can't remember which it was, but he had killed himself right there. So by the time we had got there, it was chaos.
Like a coward.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching that little girl, the 15-month-old, being on a stretcher. They're trying to work her, and just, pupils wide as anything, and she was gone. And just to think, like, such evil like that is in this world, and there's nothing you can do about it. A guy like that, he's got so much rage and so much evil in his heart that there was nothing that was going to stop him. That was going to be his final act on this earth, and he let all the evil out right there. I mean, to turn a gun on a 15-month-old girl is just disgusting.
Yeah, and then then killing himself, like do all that damage to then just kill yourself. It's like you did all that damage, but you're too afraid to be held accountable for it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm not a fan of death by cop, but I mean, if you're gonna do it, like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, fight it out to the end. Don't fucking, I don't know, man. I mean, the world's obviously a better place without him, but
yeah, but 3 other souls, gone. Or 1, 2,
terrible.
3, 4. Yeah, it was the girlfriend, daughter, boyfriend, and Lily.
Yeah.
Yeah, her name was Lily Medeiros.
It's terrible.
Dude, I'll never forget. Like, some of these things, like, you never forget. Like, some of these, just the evil people, So when you talk about the worst person that you've arrested.
Yeah. The list is long.
Yeah, he's the worst one probably the worst person that I've dealt with, just like by sheer numbers of people that he's hurt.
Yeah, and just sheer evil in his heart. I unfortunately cannot answer that question. Who's the worst? Because in doing this job, I've seen multiple people, so many people that are running on charges of something like sexual trauma to children, some sort of sexual abuse to children, murderers. Like and listen, like, murder's bad, right? You guys, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but like some gangbanger that murders another gangbanger, okay, it's bad, right? It's a human killing a human, whatever. But gangbanger signs up for a gangbanger life, like, it is what it is.
Yeah, there's no innocence there.
Yeah, but like a full-grown man or woman that sexually abuses a child who can't do anything to defend themselves, or not even sexually, just like physical abuse or anything like that, it's fucking terrible, dude. And unfortunately, I've seen that many, many times. Dude, yesterday, right? We were in the jail yesterday. Yeah, yesterday we put this fucking piece of shit in jail, ironically, on charges of 2 counts of sexual liberties with a minor. 2 separate counts, felony charges. Okay, that's why we're putting this fucking piece of garbage in the jail. And then while we're in there, we had to wait forever because there's a female in there being processed with 27 different warrants. And in those warrants and in the conversations with the detective that was in there charging her and putting her paperwork through, she lost custody of her child. Some of those charges were that the child was taken from the home, whatever the original situation was.
Neglect,
yeah, the child was brought was taken out of the home. They tested the child for drugs, and the child tested positive for meth and cocaine.
Yeah.
That is fucking terrible, dude.
Yep.
And I've been in many situations like that in this job where I had to take, like, I just waited, like, I called it into DSS, Department of Social Services. I need a social worker, and I need the cops, because this child or these children that are in this house, like, we go into a house, we have to force entry or whatever we're doing to go make an arrest, and we're there after the adult, but then we see the living conditions. I can't tell you how many times we've been in houses where it's just it's disgusting. There's trash and old food and just dog shit or whatever all over the house.
Floorboards are rotted out, and you're stepping on the beams.
There's bugs and cockroaches and shit everywhere. It's just disgusting, not livable for a child. But then, like, heroin needles and drug paraphernalia and shit everywhere, alcohol and cans and beer cans and shit everywhere. Just fucking terrible. Just terrible. And unfortunately, many times I've done that where I'm like, where I've had to do that. Not unfortunate that I did it, like unfortunate that these children were in this situation. And I'm like, all right, fucking call DSS. Like, I'll take your ass to jail after we have new charges because of this situation and after the state has custody of your child.
Yeah, and I would say probably, 90% of the homes we go in are in that condition.
Yeah.
Not every one of those has children, but,
right.
Probably 9 out of 10 homes we go into are just like that. There's trash. You turn on the lights and the cockroaches scatter. I mean, we've been in houses before. You turn the lights on, mom's laying in the bed with the 3-year-old, and the cockroaches just scatter across the walls. It's fucking disgusting.
Or off the bed.
Yeah.
We've been talking to people and there are bugs crawling on them or on their bed or whatever, on their couch.
Yeah, and it's just it's crazy because 9 out of 10 homes may look like that. They don't all have children in there, but say 4 out of those homes have children in them. We call DSS and think about how overrun that system is and how many times they go, okay, we'll get to it later, or we'll file a case and we'll send somebody out there. I mean,
yeah,
the system's overrun, and unfortunately, in this line of work, you get to see the worst in people and the worst in their homes and the worst in the living conditions. And unfortunately, the kids, they suffer all too often. There's only so much that we can do.
Right.
Yeah, it's a terrible situation for everybody.
Yep. These kids grow up fucking addicted to meth and coke and whatever else, and they never signed up for that.
Yeah,
if a full-grown adult says, like, you fucking know, you guys are not stupid, hey, you want some meth? No, I fucking don't. Thank you, because I'm not an idiot. But the people that say, yes, I'll take some meth, thank you very much, that's their choosing, and that's their fucking whatever. Now, if you go down this road of the hell that it is to be addicted to meth or crack or whatever else, okay, well, you signed up for that. Enjoy that ride. That's going to be terrible for you. But a child who did not sign up for that, and they were born of a crackhead or of a fucking meth head or whatever, that's fucking terrible.
Or they're just cutting it up on their dining room table while the kid's sitting there and eating their meals or eating their handy snacks or whatever. I mean,
cooking it or smoking it right there next to them, in front of them. How many times have we seen kids come running out of a single wide trailer with meth sores all over their body? It's like, dude, that's not fucking chicken pox. That's meth,
Yeah. You're making me scratch right now.
I know, dude. Next question. Thank you very much. All right. What's the scariest moment during an arrest for you? I guess, again, for you, this could go back to law enforcement days.
Why don't you take this one? Are you scared much?
I'm not scared. I don't really remember a time that I was scared. Like, scared is a bad word. That's how they worded it. But I know what they mean. But
cautious.
Yeah, in this job, guys, like, after this many years of like gunfights and physical altercations and foot chases and all the things, I'm not scared. But I'd say I remember one in particular. Okay. I remember one in particular. This is before I was working with you. And there was a house that was up on stilts. And it was down by the beach. This chick rented it out, and she had 2 kids. And I had an informant. I knew that the guy that I was hunting was in that house. So, and I guess like he and her had a relationship at one time. It was on again, off again, that kind of deal. So the way this house was set up, it's up on stilts because it's at the beach. And there were stairs, obviously, that took you up to the front side or up to the back side. I had somebody else working with me that was watching the back staircase and all the windows on that side. I then had to go, and this guy's charges were like firearm by a felon. He had shot people. Like, I knew he was like a firearm kind of a dude. And high likelihood, like he was not going to go without a fight type of a deal. So I go up the stairs, which already sucks. Like, again, not scared, but definitely cautious because I'm up a single flight of stairs in a shitty, like, modular home on stilts or whatever. So, like, you could easily just shoot holes through the door. And it wasn't like a big porch. So I couldn't knock on the door and then get out of the way of the door, right? In this line of work, guys, we don't ever stand in front of windows or doors. I'm not going to knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and then just stand there in front of the door like a salesman may. You know, you knock on the door and then you get the fuck off the X, you know? So in this situation, I couldn't because, and first I did. I went up the stairs, I knock, I get back down the stairs, right? I can hear the female talking, but I can't hear what she's saying. Because she doesn't know I'm at the bottom of the stairs. She thinks I'm on the other side of the door. So I start yelling up for her to open the door and have a conversation with me. She's not opening the door. Fuck, all right? I have no choice, right? Yeah. I go back up, I knock again, I start having a conversation, and I'm just standing in front of the door. I'm as like, you know, over as I can be, but you know, it is what it is. And I don't know the inside layout of this house yet. So I'm having a conversation with this female. I announce who I am. She's telling me the guy's not there. I'm telling her that I know he is, you know, and we're having this back and forth. And then I start telling her, you know, listen, I'm going to have to force entry into your house. I know you got kids in there. I don't want to do all that, you know. Let's be smart about this thing. Now, here's the deal. Remember I said I had an informant on this case. So at the same time that I'm having this conversation, and like I had this conversation with her, whatever, and then it came kind of to like a lull where, like a stalled moment where she was not opening the door. And I didn't feel comfortable standing in front of it anymore. So I went back down, and her SUV was parked. So I went and got in a safe spot on the backside of the SUV in case he started shooting through a window or something, or the door just flew open and he's shooting and going to make a run for it or whatever. So when I go down there, my informant is relaying a message to me that she's inside texting to my informant. She knows that my informant is the informant, right? So she's telling the informant, I can't open the door. If I open the door, he's going to shoot me. So now I'll give you guys the layout and what she said. Basically, from that door, I go up the stairs and I'm staring straight at the door. If I were to open that door, it opens out to the right, and there's a wall right there, and it opens up into the kitchen. So there were cabinets and shit this way. He moved like a dresser and a table and some other shit over here, and he was on the other side of that. So he basically was surrounded by the cabinets because the cabinets went this way and then over. So he's in the corner of the kitchen, flanking the door. Mm-hmm. So anybody that came in, he had a clear shot, and then he had dressers and tables and shit piled up. So if you fired back, you couldn't just hit him directly.
Right.
So she's typing that, trying to be slick and not be seen by him. And she said that he was in there saying, like, if you open that door, I'm going to fucking kill you, you know? So now that is being relayed to me via text. So we're literally playing telephone, but like people's lives are at risk here. Now I have to be super careful. I'm like, okay, but now I have a physical layout too, because she kind of described what was happening. Because I was telling her, like, I'm going to kick the door open and I'm going to come in and get him, you know? And I was announcing too, like, you know, sometimes, you know this, for the listeners, like, a lot of what we do is very mental. And sometimes you have to let them know what is going to happen, like their options. Your options are you can come out, and this is what I was telling him. You can open that door very slowly, show me 2 hands, keep them in the air, don't make any sudden movements, come out and do everything I tell you, and I'm going to treat you like a gentleman and everything will be all right. But I was telling him, and this is the part where it gets really sketchy. Once I had all this information, I had no choice but to go back up. And I know that he's on the other side of the door, but over here. So he could still shoot at an angle at
Easily,
me.
yeah.
So I presented myself in a way where I could talk through the door, but if he shot at me through the wall, it would hit me in the plates and not in the side.
Right.
Because it would have hit me in the side if I was facing the door still.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I'm now giving him his options. And exactly what I told you. I was like, listen, open the door, nice and slow, show me your hands, everything will be all right. The alternative to that is that I've got this place surrounded with agents already. I didn't. There were 2 of us.
Yeah.
He didn't know that, though. And I was like, half my agents are going to come in the back door, and half of us are going to come through the front door. And you're going to die tonight in front of your children. And you do with that information what you want to. You can think I'm bluffing if you want to, but I'm not going away. I know that you're here. Like, the gig is up. Time is up. You're going to jail tonight, or you're going to the morgue tonight. You decide which one you want it to be. But I was like, listen, man to man, father to father, do you want to die bleeding out on the kitchen floor tonight in front of your children? If the answer is no, I need this door to open and I need to see hands. And I told him, I was like, I'm walking down these steps right now and I'm going to give you 60 seconds. I said, from the time you hear my voice stop talking, 60 seconds starts. And if inside of 60 seconds, I don't see this door open, I'm coming in to get you. And I said, be smart about this. And it wasn't like a pissing contest. It was more me trying to like rationalize with him.
Right.
And I was serious. Like, I was coming in to get him. There just wasn't a giant team of us. But now that I had the layout of the house and stuff, I had a plan for a diversion and some things, right? But I really fucking did not want to go in that house, dude. Now that I knew, okay, and moreover than me getting in a gunfight with him, the fact that she said that he told her, if you open this door, I'm going to kill you. If he's willing to kill her in front of her own children, and maybe he wasn't. Maybe that was a scare tactic. Who knows? But I don't know that, right?
Yeah.
Just like your story, there are guys that'll do that. So that one for me was the most cautious, the most worried that I've been during an arrest, because there were a lot of elements that were out of my control, and you're dealing with a fugitive who has proven that he will shoot people in the past, and he's now threatening her, and he's barricaded himself quite literally in a tactical position that made it where it seemed like he was very ready for a gunfight. So I was pretty worried about that one. Ending of that story, I did talk him out. When he came out, I had him walk backwards down the steps. He came down the steps, facilitated the arrest at the bottom of the steps. He was wearing these big overalls or whatever, and or like coveralls, like insulated coveralls. Once I got the cuffs on him, he was so worked up inside and so like I think he really amped himself up and was ready for a fight. He seized out on me. So he goes into this like he's like, I put cuffs on him and stood him up because he was on his knees. I cuff him, and I'm gonna search him and stuff, but I need to get cuffs on him first. And he goes, "Man, I don't feel good." And I just looked at the way he said it. It didn't sound like he was full of shit. I looked at him, and his eyes rolled back in his head, and he started seizing on me. I was like, "Fuck!" Now,
Just never ending.
Yeah, now I'm out there giving medical aid to this guy. Like I hadn't even searched him. It was just wild. But
Yeah.
that was the most scared, most worried I'd been.
Yeah. I'd be scared too.
Yeah.
Not scared. Cautious.
Yeah,
Worried. Yeah.
scared for the children. I was scared for the children and this innocent woman inside.
Yeah.
So, what about you? Did you answer that one? No.
No. I mean, like you said, scared is not a great word, because scared means fearful, and fearful is an emotion. And when you go in with emotions into these things, you lose your fucking head.
Yeah.
And so you got to you can't be emotional doing this job or doing any kind of protection work or any kind of search, any kind of fugitive recovery work. You got to really stay rational. You have to always be thinking. That's not to say that you're not cautious and you're not planning and that things don't come up and that you don't have contingencies for these things that come up so that you can deal with them. But you have to keep a cool head. I guess, it's all, anytime we got to go into a structure, those are always the most cautious moments, because anytime you walk through a doorway into an unknown, anytime you stand inside that doorway and you're making entry, you're in that fatal funnel, you're stepping into the unknown, you're stepping into somebody else's realm. And people could be hiding anywhere. People could confront you as soon as you step in. They could be hiding in a back room with a rifle. They could be hiding under the house. They could be hiding in an attic. And we've had all of those situations where we've had to find people in all those situations. So anytime you step cross that threshold and you move into somebody else's realm, you have to keep your antenna up, and you have to be cautious, and you have to constantly keep your head on a swivel. We do this job with 2 people, and ultimately having a third or a fourth would be great, because searching a house with 2 people is very difficult. Trying to cover all those angles and making sure that, your back is covered, and we've got long coverage down the hallway while we're searching a room. I mean, it's very difficult to do. So anytime we go into a house, it's cautious. I guess one that I could talk about from years and years ago was actually when I was on patrol, and I remember working the graveyard shift and got a 911 hang-up call in Gilbert, Arizona, and I had just gotten on shift, so it was probably 11:30, something like that. And it was a 911 hang-up call. Female on the line, doesn't say much. She was whispering. The dispatchers couldn't make out what she was saying.
That's usually a terrible call.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's not good. So they call back. Phone answers. Phone hangs up. Yeah. I get there. I'm the first one on scene, and I park my car down the road a little bit so that nobody sees a patrol car rolling up, because you don't know what you're rolling into.
Right.
The dispatch is still trying to make phone contact with people in the house. No answer. I walk up to the front door, and as I get up to the front door, I just kind of sit there and I'm listening to see what I hear, and I don't hear anything. And so the way this house was set up, it's weird that I remember all this, but there's a 2-car garage, and it's kind of out towards the front of the house, and as you walk along the wall to the garage, you come up to the front door, and it's like an L shape there towards the patio. So I'm standing there, and there's really, like your situation, nowhere really to go, because right next to that door is a wall to my left and a window to my right. Mm-hmm. So I'm standing there, and as I'm standing there, my backup's still not there, but I don't know what this is. Like normally we would go up at least 2 guys to a situation like this, but this one was kind of like, something's going on here. Somebody needs help.
Right.
So I was only there for a few seconds, and the door flings open, and I didn't even hear anybody on the other side of the door, but there's a female standing in front of me, and she is frantic. Help, help, he's in the house, please. He just choked me out. And she's got marks all over her and everything, and her hair is a mess, and she's like trying to grab onto me. I'm like, okay, stop trying to grab onto me. And like, I pull her out of the house, and like, I get her behind me. And as I get her behind me, I see a dude who pops out in front of me. There's like a hallway that leads to a living room, and then the kitchen's over to the left, and he pops out like from the kitchen, standing in the living room looking right at me. And it turns out this guy was like an ASU football player, everything that you remember, like 6'3", 230 pounds, like young guy. He was like 24 years old, drunk as shit. So I kind of push her behind me, and I'm talking to this guy, and I don't know what's going on at this point other than that she's a victim and she needs help.
Right.
So I step in the house to get between the two of them, and he doesn't have anything in his hands, and I'm there by myself. So I pull out my taser, and I'm like, all right, man, listen, just turn around, do what I tell you right now. You're not going to get hurt. And he kind of like chuffs and kind of like looks at me and like, oh, this is not, here we go. Right. So I'm like, look, dude, like I just try to, verbal judo him into submission. Like, hey, look, I don't want to fight you. You don't want to fight me. This is going to end bad for you. Just do what I tell you. I actually get him to turn around. All right, man, put your hands on top of your head. Listens to me, puts his hands on top of his head. I was like, okay, go down to your knees right now. And that apparently got him pissed.
Yeah.
Go down to your knees, and he kind of looks back. He's like, I'm like, oh, fuck. So at that moment, the funny thing is I've got my taser out. I'm like, I'm going to fucking tase you. My backup showed up, and, with cops, with bounty hunters, with anybody who does this, you get a wide range of skill levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like we're talking about fearful versus cautious, rational versus emotional, having a contingency and a plan to do things as opposed to just like, fuck it,
Right.
Well, my backup shows up, and his plan was apparently fuck it, because I'm standing there and I'm trying to get this guy to comply. And all of a sudden I just see this blur come flying by me. And he just fucking runs after this guy and tackles him, or tries to tackle him.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, my backup was a bald-headed white dude who was 5 years older than me and probably about 30 pounds lighter than me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as he tries to jump on this guy turns and fucking smacks him right in the face, just punches him square in the face. I'm like, okay, well.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, right? So I try to tase him. That doesn't work. Like, it was funny because it was like one of those moments you see in a movie, like I looked at my taser. I was like,
Yeah. Why aren't you working?
oh, fuck that, man. Right. So
Yeah.
I threw it away, and I got into the fight. And as I tried to grab onto him, he goes to throw another hook, and I duck my head, and he hits me right in the top of the head. And then it's on. And then we're dragging him out of the house and throwing him on the ground, and he lands in a pile of rocks. 'Cause Arizona, they don't have grass.
Sure.
It's, half-inch,
Pebbles. Yeah.
rocks. Yeah, and they're sharp. But he lands on the rocks as I land on top of him with a couple of rights to his face. So his
Nice.
face is getting punched on one side and smashed into the rocks on the other side.
Fantastic.
So he got hit quite a few times, and it's funny because they have different color rocks out there. Some people like brown, some people like
White. Yeah.
yeah. He had white rocks.
Nice.
So the blood splatter on the the red blood on the white rocks looked really picturesque.
Artistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I did that.
Little Jackson Pollock in his front yard.
Yeah. So and it's funny because it hit him a couple of times, and after he got hit a couple of times, he goes, "Okay, I give up." I'm like, that's not how this is supposed
That's
to
not.
happen.
Yeah. You don't get to hit people and then.
that's- like keep going until we get the cuffs on you,
Yeah.
But he's like, okay, I give up. So slap the cuffs on him and call out the fire department because now he's got to get his face repaired.
Right.
So as that whole thing had happened, so just prior to me stepping in the house, I was like, hey, this is what I got. I got a female. So what dispatch typically does is they'll put out a hot tone and they'll hold the channel so that no other traffic comes over your radio except for your traffic. So, they held the channel for us. And then for, I don't know, 45 seconds to a minute while that whole thing was going on, it's just dead silence, and the next thing, me getting on the radio is like, hey, roll fire. Yeah, this guy's, face is pretty fucked up. So that was kind of cool just to get on the radio and be like, yeah, send fire because his face is bleeding. But he was in, and the most awkward part to this whole thing was by the end, he's on the ambulance and he's in handcuffs and he's bleeding from his face and he's a wreck. And my sergeant had shown up and he says, hey, this guy wants to talk to you. I'm like, what the fuck does he want to talk to me for? Like, I got nothing to say to him. Like, we'll talk about it in court. But he's sitting on the ambulance and I guess they pointed me out to him and he's like, hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm like, you don't do that. Why?
Yeah.
That was my thing. I was like, you didn't have to do that. You knew who I was. You knew I was there.
Yeah.
And dude, it's so funny that I remember this, but he's like, well, I just, another man steps into my house and tells me what to do and it's not going to happen. I'm like, well, it happened.
Obviously
so,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened. So enjoy your trip to the hospital and then to jail. But, yeah, I mean, that moment, being there by yourself at that point when you don't know what's going on, you don't know the scenario, you don't know if he's got weapons, but he had apparently choked her unconscious and she had been out for a few minutes and then she woke up again and he choked her again and
Yeah.
she was able to get away and that's when she got to the door and it's like, yeah, you're cautious during that whole thing because you don't know how many other people are in there. You don't know if he's got weapons. You don't know if he's still at the house. You don't know anything. So every situation you have to constantly be absorbing information and coming up with a plan and how you're going to deal with each thing that comes to you. And that's the same for our job too. I mean, we may go into a house and be looking for one person, kick a door, go into a house looking for one person who might be a female, and then a male jumps out the window.
Yeah.
Because we've literally had that, and we weren't looking for the male. Like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Do we chase him?
That's the thing. We're hunting criminals, and criminals hang out with criminals. So,
Yeah, you just always have to be alert. That's just the key.
Yep. Very good. Talk about this another time, but I have two good football stories. Went from back in the day when I was bouncing in Seattle. The bar that I bounced at was right up the road from University of Washington. And their football players would come down and get fucked up all the time and go to the bars and stuff. And two separate occasions, they had a rough night. Talk about that another time, though. Let's see here. Oh, what's your favorite pair of cowboy boots? That's a fun question.
Go ahead, sir. Are you wearing them now?
I'm wearing one of them. These particular boots are Chisos, which are super fucking cool. I like the brand. I like the boot. I like the company a lot. They're out of Texas. The whole deal is like what's the word I want? The heart behind the company or whatever is the Chisos Mountains in West Texas. So they have there are like these hydroglyphs and stuff like that on the in ruins and on the mountain, the cavern walls and stuff like that. And they have it they have some of those designs like on the upper of the boot. It's a super durable boot, really nice. They look really good. They're really comfortable. I like them a lot. But that being said, I have a lot of pair of cowboy boots. So, what's the occasion? Where are we going? What are we doing? I've got a really nice pair of snakeskin cowboy boots. I've got a really nice pair of rough stock boots. Those rough stock boots are the boots I wear the most. Like, if you're talking about just like my daily, what boot am I putting on and going out in? Those rough stock boots.
You said you got snakeskin? What color are those?
Brown. You've seen them, haven't you?
I don't think so.
I thought you've seen them. Yeah, they're nice. It's brown, pretty typical, snakeskin. But then there's not like gray snakeskin, stuff like white. These are brown, but they've got a really nice like faded green upper. Yeah, they're really nice.
Maybe I haven't seen them. I just don't remember them.
Yeah, I think I don't wear them a lot. Those are your,
Yeah,
those are your fancy boots,
Fancy.
yeah. But yeah, these Chisos and my rough stock boots are some of my favorites as far as like just boots I'm going to put on and go wear. And then got a couple other pair of rough stock boots also that I wear when I'm at the ranch riding the horse, riding riding bulls. I've got a pair of rough stock boots that I basically was going to retire, and then I've now like those are my favorite boots to wear riding bulls. So those are like my bull riding boots now.
Yeah.
And then I've got my boots for riding my horse, and then my walking around and boot scooting boots. So
Yeah.
What about you?
New boot goofing.
that's
huh?
it.
Yeah, I got two, man. I got my Ariats and I got my snakeskins. And the only reason I have two is because I have such a fat fucking foot that I can't.
Yeah, it's hard to find
fit-
boots for you.
Yeah, I can't get past the neck of the boot. Like it's just, I got fat feet. So
Yeah.
when I find a pair, I wear them and I love them. And that's because they're comfortable and they're probably the only thing on the shelf that fits me. So I've got these ones, my Ariats, and then my snakeskins that I wear like on occasion when it's nice. And
Right.
that's weird because like the snakeskin versus the regular leather, the snakeskin gets so warm on my feet. I don't know if that's with yours as well, but they just don't breathe at all. I mean, but these ones are a little cooler on my feet, and
Nice. Well, those are Ariats that you're wearing now.
these are
So
Ariats.
those might be vented in the side or something like that. I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, definitely a different leather. That's a cow leather or a bull leather.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah. These Chisos, these are oh man, I hope I'm not lying to you, but I think these are retired dairy cows.
Huh.
And it's the reason why, and then they have some process that they put them through for like making the leather like more pliable and soft and nice and plush. What's that word? What's that word?
Malleable, pliable.
No, everybody that's watching is screaming at the computer what the word is. Anyway, it's they're nice. They're very, very comfortable. And then those rough stock boots I really like as well. So moving on, what's our next one? Favorite movie?
Ooh,
What's your favorite movie?
Fight Club.
Okay.
Fight Club's a good one. I don't know why that just popped in my head, but
Yeah, Fight Club's a
mean,
classic.
yeah, I don't really watch a whole lot of movies. All right, so that's probably back in the day. Right now, Deadpool, man. Everybody loves Deadpool. Deadpool's.
I haven't seen one Deadpool movie. I need to. Like I'm slacking. I need to, and I want to. But kind of like you said, like I don't watch a lot of movies now. I used to watch a shit ton of movies like when I was a kid and a teenager and stuff like that. So I've got a bunch of movies that like Gremlins,
Yeah.
Goonies,
Anything
stuff like that.
Quentin Tarantino.
Anything Quentin Tarantino,
Fiction.
yeah.
Boondock Saints. I like Boondock Saints.
Yeah. Honestly, like, and pretty much anything Quentin Tarantino is all kind of in the same category for me, and it's all at the top. Like,
Yeah.
I love, Django and
Django Unchained.
Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and all that is just
Inglourious
classics.
Bastards. So
Glorious Bastards is awesome.
So somebody who's not very well known as far as movies go, like actors, the guy from Django Unchained and Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, the German.
Christoph Waltz.
Right.
Yeah, he's such a great actor. I think he's just so underrated. His characters, he just does such a great job with them, and he's so believable. And he can go from being a Nazi-hating Jew or a Jew-hating Nazi,
Right.
to a dentist / bounty hunter,
Right.
and just does the part
Who's
so well.
very sympathetic
Yeah,
to the opposite race and whatever, where he's the Jew hunter in Inglourious Bastards. And my first experience with him was Inglourious Bastards, and I remember watching it for the first time, and I was like, man, this guy is such an amazing actor. And you know something that Quentin Tarantino does really well is like all of the people that he has in his movies are all fantastic actors.
Yeah.
But even like that classic scene when when the Jew hunter is in the kitchen sitting at the table with the
Right.
Jewish guy and he's interrogating him, but it's like very friendly, and he finally drops the the bomb that like, listen, we know that they're here, we know that they're whatever. Are they under your floor? And he gets very tense, but the Jewish guy, like that guy's acting, it kind of gets overshadowed by how good this dude
Christoph
is,
yeah.
but man, like his acting was phenomenal. Again, very, very believable. Yeah. Any of those movies are top. I can't name a one. Like I can't name a one movie that's my favorite. Braveheart is definitely up there.
Patriot was good with Mel Gibson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Patriot was real good. Yeah, there's a lot of movies back from like probably the early 2000s that were just real classics. But yeah, anything Quentin Tarantino. Not a big fan of the Kill Bill stuff. I don't know why, but just not.
Sure.
Back in the day, there was a movie, Death to Smoochie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Had Ed Norton and Robin Williams, and it was like the dark comedy about like the ice capades.
Ed Norton's another good one. He's
Yeah,
a really
he
good
is.
actor, really versatile actor. He was in that movie with Robert De Niro where he played a guy with Down syndrome, or he was some sort of a mental. No, it wasn't Down syndrome. He had a mental handicap, and but he was very, very believable.
Yeah.
And American History X and
the other one I was gonna
Fight
hit on.
Club. Like he's just hit so many different types of characters that were all very believable. Yeah, he's great.
I think Death to Smoochie was the first movie I saw with him, and then I saw American History X, and I'm like, how the hell is that the same guy?
Yeah,
Because he was so white bread and smoochy, and then he was just so arrogant and aggressive in American History X. I'm like, man.
and so soft in Fight Club.
Yeah.
Like he was a totally different person in that
Yeah.
too. But you know what drives me nuts is you got actors like that are so versatile and so amazing and talented, and then you've got other actors that are the same fucking person in every movie, like Vince Vaughn, for example. Like he's hilarious. Like I think he's funny and I like his movies, but he's the same fucking guy. He's
Yeah.
the same character in every single movie. Nicolas Cage is the same, all
Adam
these guys.
Sandler.
Yeah.
It's all the same skit, just in repackaged, but you
Yep.
get guys like we're talking about, and they could do anything. They really
Yeah.
could.
Yeah. And a lot of the action guys too. Jason Statham, obviously, he's the same
Yeah.
same fucking guy in every movie. So, all right. Oh, okay. This question's kind of rude, but I don't think that they I don't think that they meant it that way. But how much money do you make as a bounty hunter?
Not enough.
Yeah, definitely not enough for, and it doesn't matter what the answer is. The answer is not enough for what we do. Like he was saying, you stick your head under a bed, you stick your head up in an attic, in a closet, and there's a bad guy in there with a gun, and you're not breathing anymore. Then or if you do leave breathing, but you're maimed and deformed and disabled the rest of your life, that's obviously not worth it. So, but I will say that there are different ways to make money in this job. The way that it works for us, we have a company that we run the show for and make a salary from that company, and then but then we also pick up outside contracts from there. So somebody else from another state, from another city, whatever. Somebody from another state, for example, will reach out. They'll send us an email and say, hey, listen, I got a guy running, like the guy from New York that I was talking about. That guy emailed me, hey, this guy's down there in your neck of the woods. I don't know where, but his girl moved down there, blah, blah, blah. So I tailed the girl. That's how I found him. So I'll pick up outside contracts like that, or we'll pick up contracts from inside of our own state, where often what that is, like, our reputation in this game is if you can't get them, we will, or if you're too scared to get them, we will. Because a lot of times, like, guys are running on murder, they're running on assault, they're running on rape or whatever. So one, they're desperate. Two, they've proven to be very dangerous. And the bondsmen that are getting these people out of jail are not operators.
Not capable.
They're not. Yeah, and it would be dangerous for them, and they know that. So, so they'll hire us. So then we typically make. I'm not going to tell you how much we make, but I will say that, on an individual contract, the industry standard is 10% of the face value of the bond plus expenses. So, for example, if somebody is out on bond for $100,000, we'll get the price for that is typically 10 to 15% of the face value of the bond plus expenses. So whatever it takes in gas and food and lodging or whatever to go and get the person to travel and to do all the things to hunt the person down, they're going to cover that cost, and then they're also going to pay us the 10 to 15% face value of the bond. Now, that's industry standard. There are some reasons why that might change. For example, like, that's minimum, but, like, for example, often we get contracts where somebody will reach out and say, I got to get this guy. I've done everything I can. I've got 10 days to get him, 7 days to get him, some bullshit like that. Okay, well, now you just made our job substantially harder in a couple ways. One, we don't have a lot of time to get them. Two, you just told me that you've done everything you can, which means you called everybody, you asked all the questions, you basically just let them know that they're being hunted. So now they're just hiding harder. And, again, the short time frame really makes it difficult for us. As it would for anybody, but the short time frame means, well, we have other cases, like, we're always working. So that means you want us to put your case in front of all these other ones, pushing these other ones back when some of them have a short time frame too. So that comes with a price. If you want to move to the front of the line, you got to pay a premium. So
yeah, $100,000 too. I mean, that's just an example. Like, some of these cases we get are $17,000. That means there's $1,700 that's going to get split.
Right.
2, sometimes 3 ways, depending upon who's working the case and if the company that we're working for is involved, or if these are just an outside contract. But typically it's like a 2 to 3 way split. And then you got to also think about the time frame that you're working these things. Sometimes you might be working these cases 2, 3, 4 weeks, and that's the payday for that case. And you have to throw all your energy at this. There are times where it's financially profitable, but then there's also other times, like, if you get hurt doing this job, the company doesn't have medical benefits for you. That's coming out of your own pocket. And if you're hurt bad and you can't work, well, then you're paying medical expenses and not getting paid. So
yeah. And there are swings, like he's saying, like, there are $500 bonds that get written every single day. I've also been on contract for a $2.2 million bond.
Yeah.
So, like, they're very, very, very drastic swings, like that guy was out for 2.2 million. His, they hit him for, kidnapping, rape, like assault. There were a whole list of things. Ended up being total fucking bullshit. Ended up being, he got in an argument with his girlfriend. She tried to leave and he's like, no, you're going to fucking talk. We're going to talk about this, whatever. Well, she didn't like that, whatever. Next day she went and filed charges, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Fun fact about that case, his dad was best friends with a guitar player from the Eagles.
Huh.
And he's the one that posted the bond.
His dad did, or the guitar player from the Eagles?
The guitar player from the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would explain why.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I was like, because that was my question. How'd you post 2.2 million?
Right. Yeah. And
anyway.
So when you caught the guy, I'm guessing you didn't get $250,000 for it, too.
No, I was on contract. Yeah, I was on contract for it, but basically, it never got to the point of us actually hunting him because same with like that much. They had access to that much money. They had access to that kind of a lawyer. So the lawyer kind of squashed the whole deal and got everything rescinded, and it was all whatever.
Yeah, that'd be a nice payday, man.
Fuck yeah, it would.
We need more of those contracts.
Fuck yeah, it would. All right, we got one more question here. Man, and this is the number one question that I get across all platforms, which is, how do I become a bounty hunter?
That depends. Depends upon which state you're living in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, for here in North Carolina, I think it's still a 3-day course, and it's through the Department of Insurance. You have to go through there's a couple of different schools that offer the course, but it's pretty simple. You got to go get a criminal background check. You got to get your fingerprints taken. You run the course. Once you get the course, I don't even remember the test.
Yeah. So you do the 3-day course, and then you take a test at the end of that course. So you have to pass that exam. Then you put in all your paperwork with the Department of Insurance and your fingerprints and all that. They're going to background check. They're going to do all the things. They're going to make sure all your stuff, because there are like, guidelines, regulations, requirements that you have to meet. Assuming that you meet all those requirements, they're going to double check that. If, okay, that's good. Then they're going to give you, and you pass your background check and all that, then they're going to assign you a date to take your state exam. So you then go into this testing center and you have to take the state exam, which is long. That's a big deal. And you have to pass it, obviously. So assuming you pass your state exam, then you move on to the next stage. But what's kind of crazy about the way that they do it in North Carolina is you would think you would do all those things and then you would go get a job somewhere. But in North Carolina, you actually have to have the job first. So you have a
sponsor.
A sponsor, yeah. So you have a bondsman who, or bail enforcement agent who is going to sponsor you, and then you go through all those steps, which is kind of weird because it's backwards, But like in your case, I was your sponsor. It's okay. I'm going to sign your paperwork. I'm going to say you're good to go. I'm going to whatever. But I mean, I knew all your stuff was good, I
still
wouldn't
got to go through the steps.
Yeah. And I wouldn't do that for somebody else. So, and it's kind of crazy if you're just off the street and you go and approach a bail bond company and you're like, hey, I want to do this, they'd interview you or whatever. And I guess if you talk to good talk, they'd bring you in. But at that point, you have zero experience. You have whatever. So it's a lot of steps to go through to then have a job, to then say, okay, I'll keep you on,
Yeah, and in North Carolina, bail bondsman, fugitive recovery agent, bail enforcement agent, bounty hunter. They don't like the term bounty hunter, but they're all the same thing. It's all under the same license. So once you get your license, like there's strictly bail bondsmen who go out and they don't do any kind of fugitive recovery. They just go and they write bonds and get people out of jail, and that's how they make their money.
That's the vast majority.
Yeah, very many of them. And then even some of those who write their own bonds, like they're responsible and they go after their own skips and they go and track them down, which, I mean, God bless them. I mean, I don't want to do that. First of all, I don't want to write the bonds. I don't want to be responsible for that because I know how shitty people are. But to have to do that as well as go out and hunt your own people when they skip, I mean, I can't imagine the amount of stress because a lot of those guys, like if they don't catch their people, they lose their money.
Yeah.
When they lose their money, they lose their license, or their license is suspended and they can't write any more bonds. So yeah, God bless them. But, that license encompasses everything. So once you get that license, you can go out and hunt people. You can go out and just write bonds if you want. You can do all of it if you want.
Doesn't mean you're good at it.
Yeah.
And many of them are not, that's why Gunnar and I have the reputation in this state and in this region that we do, because people know, one, neither of us get anybody out of jail. We only specialize in hunting them and putting them back in jail. But a lot of these people, like, they'll get them out. Like you said, most of them just get the person out of jail. That's how they make their money. That's all they care to do, whatever. And then you got the people that want to be tough, want the respect of a bounty hunter, want all those things, whatever. but you know, but they suck. They're not operators. They don't know, and it's very dangerous. Like, it's very dangerous. So sometimes those people get hurt, you know, and it's the last time they go hunt somebody.
Throw around the word bounty hunter anywhere you go, and typically that word or that combination of words has a bad connotation anywhere you go, because there's a lot of shitty people out there who do the job. You know, you always hear the stories about, oh, bounty hunters went in, they kicked the wrong door, and they shot some person they shouldn't have shot. And, you know, there's those stories are more often than not, you hear those stories than the good stories. And that's because that's how hard it is to get a license and do the job. And then once people have the license, they think automatically they're badasses. I mean, you had years and years of experience in the military. I had years and years of experience in the police department before I even decided to do this. If I didn't have the experience I had and the training I had, and you didn't have the training and the experience you had, like, I wouldn't want to do this. I mean, there's way too much risk for, like, me coming off the street, not having any kind of training or experience to go, okay, I'm going to go hunt people, and I'm going to go kick that door, and then I'm going to go drag that guy out. Like, I hate doing it now because I know there's so much risk associated with it, but we still do it. So without that training and going and doing this, I mean, seriously, if you're going to think about this, find yourself some good training, find some good defensive tactics training, find some good firearms training. Find somewhere that will teach you proper building clearing. I mean, there's a vast array of things. Find a trauma first aid course. Take that course. Like, that's like super important, and people just skip over that. They don't even think about the first aid part or the trauma part of it. But I mean, that's stuff that we run across all the time, just even in our average everyday life.
Yeah, there's a long list of skills that you need to have to actually be good at this job and make it a career, you know, and come home safe. Like, the number of violent encounters that I've had in this job in 11, 12 years, whatever it's been, is a lot. It's a fucking lot. So, but I'm still here because of training and knowledge and experience. So it's not because I'm great. It's because I have all those tools and those skills. So go get them, because, you know, we've seen it. We run into it all the time. The guy that has something to prove, that has an ego, that has whatever, and he, you know, oh, I want to be a bounty hunter. I want to, it's like, man, that's a dangerous mindset. You're not going to be a bounty hunter. You're going to be dead, you know, or maimed or whatever. So, and if you don't live in North Carolina, just Google it, a quick Google search, look up like fugitive apprehension or bail enforcement, you know, look up different terms, because different states title it different things.
Different states don't have it, like Kentucky.
So, you
can't do it in Kentucky. So
right. West Virginia. Yeah. So, make sure that it's legal in your state. Make sure that, even that, like, you have to know the laws for every state. Like, there are states that we are not allowed to do our job in, even though, so if we know somebody runs to a particular state, we know, okay, well, we have to get that person out of there a different way. It's not that that person's going to run there and be safe and we're never going to get them. We're going to get them, but we've been doing it long enough. We know some like workarounds and stuff like that. But if we just were to rush into a certain state, put handcuffs on somebody and try to bring them out, we're going to prison for kidnapping. So we have to know the workarounds and know the laws. So know the law of your state. Your state will likely have a different procedure than we do here in North Carolina, and just do your research and figure it out. But I would say before any of that, check yourself. Know, like, do I have the skills really to do the job and do it safely, and understand it's not just your life. Even if you're like, well, I'm tough, I'm not scared, whatever. Okay, cool. But, you know, there are a lot of innocent people inside these houses that we kick the door in every day. You know, there are neighbors. They're like, bullets start flying, bad shit happens. So
yeah, and this isn't to like knock on anybody, but if you're thinking about doing this job and you can't run a mile without stopping, and you can't do 50 push-ups, and you can't do 50 sit-ups, please don't do this job.
Yeah.
because physical fitness above all, if you don't have the physical fitness to do this job, you're just a liability. And that's the bare minimum. Once you can do that, once you have that level of basic physical fitness, then start looking into it. So, I mean, if you're 60 pounds overweight right now and you're thinking, oh, this might be a good career for me, it's not. Yep. It's not, unless you're going to sit there and write bonds, and that's fine. But just like my partner's saying, check yourself. Make sure you're physically and mentally ready for this thing.
Yeah. We've turned many people down that want to be part of our team, and we're like, yeah, you don't have it, man. We know that you don't have it. So, and that's being a man too. You're a man, you're a father, you're a husband, you need to be a leader, you need to be fit, you need to be ready. So get on your skills and do your shit. Be a man. You got any parting words?
I think I said them all.
Right on. Thank you for the questions, guys. Appreciate them.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. We're going to do some lives, do some live question and answers. It'll be fun. Until next time, follow us on all the things. Remember, you only have one life. Make it an alpha life.